Hi everybody and welcome back again to another one of our super interviews here today. It's Fabrizio Poli at Tyrus Wings TV, and today I have with me Jim Carroll. Jim's a futurist and best-selling author of the book The Future Belongs to Those Who Are Fast. Jim, welcome to the show, and tell us a bit about how you became a futurist, because this is a very interesting profession of yours.
It is a very interesting profession. It just sort of put in perspective what I do. I mean, I provide guidance to some of the world's leading organizations on future trends, innovation, what comes next. I mean, NASA's had me in twice to speak with them about the future of space. I mean, that's how bizarre it gets. My background is actually kind of weird. I'm actually a professional accountant, a chartered accountant. I was with predecessor firms of KPMG and Ernst & Young many years ago. But I was on the internet probably a good 10, 15 years before the rest of the world discovered what was going on and realized, there was this big powerful global collaborative machine emerging, and got very involved in technology, very involved in the early days of digitization. Got onto the speaking circuit and the research circuit with this list of clients, and realized what I'm really doing is helping them understand the future. So let's build a career out of that. And from that, I transitioned from being an accountant into being a futurist. Probably one of the strangest career transitions of all time.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Okay, so how is technology and social media then changing the way we already do business today, and how is it going to shape the future?
There's two key questions there. I think we need to separate them. Technology is an issue and social media is an issue. I think the biggest trend with this, and I explain this to a lot of my clients, what is happening is that control of the pace of innovation and the speed of change is shifting from every single industry to the speed of technology companies. And let me explain that. If you think about Detroit, you think about automotive, they used to control their future. I mean, they would design cars. Cars were simple, they were straightforward, they had engines, they had wheels. Well, the amount of technology coming into vehicles today, as witnessed by Tesla Motors, what's happening is Silicon Valley is coming to take over the pace of innovation in the automotive sector. Detroit's no longer in control. Innovation is happening faster. Cars are going out of date faster. The evolution of what we consider to be an automobile, autonomous, technology, all those things, it's speeding up the pace of innovation. I was just in Florida last week with an insurance group talking about what's happening in insurance, and what we're seeing is what we call prognostic or diagnostic insurance, where from a life insurance side, I can use technology to determine what conditions you're going to be at risk for, and base my life insurance policy based on that in-depth knowledge. So rather than looking back as an actuary does, I can look in real time or I can look forward. If we think about retail, if we think about credit cards, our cell phones are becoming credit cards. Yeah. So Visa, MasterCard, American Express, they've lost control of the speed of change in their future, because it's now being dictated by companies like PayPal, Apple, Google, and others, which, they innovate a lot faster. So technology is speeding up the pace of change. I mean, that's a critical issue. The second part of this is social networking, and that's just part of, I think a bigger trend, I call it the big global idea machine. That's what the internet, social networking, communications have become. I'm going into Philips Medical tonight, and I'm doing a talk for an innovation dinner, celebrating their innovation heroes. And what I'm really putting in perspective is the whole world of medical research has changed, because we now have more massive and faster rates of sharing of information, of insight, of research, of leading edge trends, of scientific knowledge, so that what used to happen in terms of research and development, maybe took 2 or 3 years, might now take a week or a month. Simply put, the world is speeding up because of the connectivity and the collaboration we have in place. So if you add those two trends together, the future belongs to those who are fast.
Yeah, very, very, very interesting concept, and very, very true. Now, how does this translate? Because obviously you do all this research online, you contact these people on the other side of the world. We're using Skype video like we're talking right now, and we've got the Atlantic Ocean, which separates us from England and where you are right now. And how do you think private jets are going to be play an important role in speeding people up as they go out there?
Oh man, well I can certainly speak to that. I mean, yesterday I was in Newport, Rhode Island. I flew home last night to get a good sleep at the home base here in Toronto. Later today I fly off to Pittsburgh. I'm back home tomorrow night. On Monday I'm off to Dallas. Tuesday Colorado Springs. Wednesday Napa Valley. I mean, my life is spent, in chunks of time of 45 minutes to an hour and a half on stage in front of groups of people. And it's a very intense process. I mean, I have to deliver very concise insight in a very short period of time. And certainly the travel is takes a toll. Its toll. I mean, I have to be fresh. I have to get there. I'd love to have the opportunity to do my job via private jet. I don't think my fee structure is there yet.
Yeah.
If you think about the speed of change in the economy, if you think about what executives are trying to do to align their organizations for a very fast-paced future, we've got precious little time to act. One of my messages for Philips tonight is that look, the time to get a product to market is shorter. Change is happening faster. Products are becoming obsolete faster. Your window of opportunity to get out there and accomplish something is decreasing. So if speed is the new metric, then anything we can do to achieve time compression in how we do things, absolutely critical.
Yeah, because I mean, the private jet, not only does it get you in and out fast, it gets you in and out based on your schedule, and it also gives you the flexibility to land at a lot more airports. Because it may be that your meeting is like 2 hours away from the main airport, but there may be a smaller airport nearby, and you can land at that small airport, get to your venue where you're giving your speech in 10 minutes or having your meeting. And so, and if you're saying that now products get to market a lot quicker, then you've got to get that product to market. So you may have to fly to India, sit down with the people in India and discuss how the product's going to be developed. And you may want to be able to do that, get in fast and out fast.
Right.
It just speeds things up. And then with terrorism and, and all that kind of thing, which is slowing down the pace of air travel even more, unfortunately. And we no longer have supersonic civilian air travel anymore, like we used to with Concorde. So one way of speeding things up is to have a private jet. Now, the other interesting trend that we're seeing right now is a lot of wealth is being transferred to the next generation. And there is a bit of a challenge with that. And now, how is this whole technology acceleration going to have an influence on these people that are inheriting this wealth? And what can they do to learn how to manage this wealth and multiply it using these technologies and that?
I think the next generation has a different relationship with money, with finance, in terms of where they think about opportunities. My sons are 21 and 23, and I use some stories on stage that they don't use cash anymore. They haven't really used cash for 8 years. They really don't know what cash is. Their entire world is based around their mobile device. They've grown up in a world in which they've never had not had the internet accessible to them in the whole of human knowledge. They've grown up in a world in which they are collaborative and they're open to sharing ideas. And I think one of the biggest trends which is unfolding in terms of wealth management with this next generation is what we might call social network-based investment decisions. In the good old days, I, as an investment, somebody with funds to invest, I would turn to investment advisors. I would seek their guidance. Mm-hmm. They would, provide me insight on what I should do. I would do my own research and concur or not concur with their decision. I think this next generation, because they've grown up with Facebook, they've grown up with Snapchat, they've grown up with Twitter, they've grown up in this very open, collaborative world, increasingly will look to their peers for information on their investment decisions. So not only will they be turning to an investment advisor or the folks in their family office or other individuals, they're going to be turning to their friends. They're going to be turning to others around the world. They're already forming their own little, social investment networks, and that's going to guide their decisions to a huge degree in the future.
So when you say they go to their friends, you mean their friends that they meet regularly, but also their network online, their Facebook friends, their LinkedIn friends.
We're starting to see the emergence of some actual social networking-based investment models. Networks that you can join, and it's like a Facebook for investing. That has some structure around it, has the charts, has the numbers, but lines you up with like-minded peers who are interested in similar areas of investing. My 21-year-old son is in his fourth year of university, and he's focused on an investing finance future. And, I get a real chuckle out of him because he's in a whole series of, investing discussion groups on Dig, which is, an online social networking platform. And that's where he's getting a lot of his insight into what he should be doing with his own little trading portfolio. I just find, that trend to be absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, because the tribes, as Seth Godin wrote in his book, it's easier today to be part of a tribe because let's say you collect stamps, or you wouldn't they don't use stamps anymore, but I mean, let's say you collect a certain type of thing. It's very easy to go online these days and find like-minded people that are interested in that particular subject, and then group on a website, like as you're saying, an investment website. You go on there, and it's like a Facebook for investors, and you find other people like yourself that have just inherited money. They're trying to figure out what to do with the money, and they see that one person invested in solar panel technology or whatever. They can find out about that type of investment and talk to them, and they're coming from a very similar background. And that, with social media and technology, that's making that a lot easier, because you can do that from your phone, connect to the social network from your phone while you're sitting on the bus or you're sitting on the beach or wherever you are, and connect to these people all the way around the world. And this is making communication with people and the flow of information a lot easier, which is really, really interesting. What about the next things that are going to influence the future? What do you think's ahead of us in the next 10 to 15 years? I mean, we've had the smartphone come onto the scene just under 10 years ago, and that's changed a lot of what we do. Social media is changing a lot of what we do. Now there's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence and augmented reality. What's next, do you think?
There's a lot of hype around the Internet of Things, and certainly some of it is hype, but it is very real. And I've been talking about that for about 15, 20 years. I have been calling it hyperconnectivity. And if you really think about what is happening here, every device which is part of our daily life is becoming plugged in. And we're going to have 3 bits of information about that device. We're going to be aware of its status, we're going to be aware of its location, and we're going to be aware of how it's functioning. That changes everything in terms of device. I mean, my home office here, I've got a weigh scale that's linked to the internet. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's not a big thing, but it is a big thing, because it changes consumer behavior. It enhances your relationship with your own health, and that has a big implication in terms of future healthcare, delivery of healthcare, healthcare monitoring. If we think about connected blood pressure cuffs, I mean, that provides opportunity for the virtualization of healthcare, where hospitals no longer are a physical building, but they're defined by the reach of the virtual devices, which allow for patient monitoring from afar. If we think about it from, the perspective of manufacturing, we're going to bring, very intelligent capabilities into manufacturing facilities, because we now have this deep level of connectivity, which has never existed. You give me any industry and give me hyper connectivity, and I can define for you how that industry is not going to look the same, 5, 10, 15 years out. And that's where I think a lot of executives, aren't really seeing, the deep picture of the big transformation which is underway, which is why there's guys like me who are going into, some of the largest organizations in the world and helping them comprehend that if they don't align themselves to these very significant trends, they might not be in the same line of business in 5 or 10 years.
Well, if we look at the story of Kodak and the story of Instagram is the Kodak of today, with photographs that you can share online. I mean, Kodak are now out of business, and they went out of business the same year that Instagram sold to Facebook for $1 billion, and they only had 13 employees. Well, when Kodak went bust, they had I think it was 160,000 employees they had to lay off. So you see that Kodak didn't
Kodak
update.
Kodak was very complacent, and I find a lot of complacency in a lot of major organizations. I mean, when I'm on stage, I often do a series of text message polls. People use their cell phones to respond to a series of questions. Uh-huh. And a very good example is with these insurance companies in Florida the other day. I put one question out to them. Are we prepared for a world of very fast-paced change? And the majority answered, well, no, we're not prepared for that. We're insurance companies. We're slow to act. My next question was, well, do you think your industry will look anything in 10 years like it does today? Yeah. 90% of the room indicated no, it's going to have been significantly transformed. And then I put the question out to them, well, what are the barriers that are in the way of achieving this dramatic transformation? Well, cultural attitudes such as we can't do that because we've always done it this way, it won't work, it's not necessary right now. And so I find a big disconnect between the reality that executives have in terms of understanding how big a change is occurring in their industries versus their ability to steer their organization into this fast-paced future. And that's a massive disconnect, and organizations really need to work hard to solve that.
And I should imagine that larger the organization, more difficult it is to change.
Oh gosh, yes. And that's why when I'm with this medical group tomorrow, one of the things I'm talking about is a very significant innovation model which is emerging, is partnership-oriented innovation. We can't do it all on our own. We should line ourselves up with smaller, nimble, technology-enabled startups or other organizations which can sort of give us a little bit more innovation oxygen to move faster. there's a tremendous number of ways I think the big organizations can try to cut through what I call an organizational sclerosis.
Yeah.
To try and deal with this world in which the future belongs to those who are fast.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I mean, we see even with the private jets, a lot of people think that it's only the large corporations that have the private jets, but most of the time it's the smaller organizations that maybe own 50 different stores around the US, and they use their small private jet to hop from one store to the next, and they visit four different cities in one day, which you wouldn't be able to do with the airlines. And so obviously they're moving a lot quicker, a lot faster. There's a lot less people involved in the decision-making process, so the decision-making happens a lot faster. And today, when we look at the examples of like Instagram, and we're talking young people here under the age of 30 that haven't got much experience or expertise, that have come together, they understand this technology, they create this new platform, and they sell the business after 2 years for $1 billion. It's just amazing. This was unheard of 20 years ago, or even 10, 15 years ago. And I think we're going to see more and more of that as we move into the future. What else do you think is on the horizon? And if anybody is in the early stages of their career, in their 20s, and they're watching this interview, what do you think they should be focusing on to help them set themselves up for the future, for success?
I think it's aligning yourself to the acceleration of change. I mean, I use a quote from Bill Gates quite often. Microsoft is not really the barometer for fast-paced change, but it's a really good quote. We observe that most people tend to overestimate how much change will occur in 2 years. They underestimate how much change will occur in a 10-year basis. And if you think about that, and you think about healthcare, you think about insurance, you think about banking, you think about automotive, big change on a 10-year basis. So, I don't think anything in 10 years is going to look like it looks like today. And that's why you need to focus on agility, flexibility, your speed to deployment, and how quickly you can get things done. I do a lot of talks in the manufacturing sector, and a trend that we have occurring in manufacturing is what we call sketch to scale. We've got the ability to now conceive an idea and prototype it and try it, utilizing 3D printing, for example, and rapid prototyping software capabilities, testing it, see if it works, demo it in the market, and if it doesn't, take it back and sketch to scale again, try it again. So, multiple iterations of attempts to design something versus the olden days model of designing, having a long, laborious lead time process, bringing it to market 3 years out, seeing it works. Well, that doesn't fit anymore. So, even the implementation of ideas is all about speed today. And, the younger generation, I think they certainly understand the collaborative world they're in.
Yeah.
They have that capability, but they need to relentlessly focus on speed, and they need to relentlessly focus on the idea that the old traditional business models don't fit. They need to create and pursue their own business models, and I think that's what we're seeing with a lot of them today.
Yeah, now even people are saying don't write a business plan anymore, write a business canvas.
Exactly.
Because by the time you've written the business plan, 60-page, really detailed, and you start implementing it, guess what? Things have changed already. So you've got to have like a general outline of what you're going to accomplish, and then just get out there and do it. And then as you do it, you perfect it, and you get it right. And today, there's with the internet, there's a lot of things that you can test very quickly, even with marketing. And we found, for example, in the early days with Tyrus Wings, we did a bit of social media and that, and then we started advertising in magazines where they sell private jets. And I remember putting an advert on page 2 and 3 of this particular magazine that was given out for free at the biggest private jet fair in the world, which is the NBAA, which is every year in Las Vegas or Orlando, depending on the year. And it went out to thousands of people. We didn't get one phone call, one email. While as we were doing our social media stuff, we're getting a lot of response. And so it's almost like, well, print's out the window now, and we're no longer going to do any print advertising because people they don't have time to read magazines like they used to. They read on their phones now, and often enough they pick up information from the social media feeds that they get. And so, we can easily go out there now and experiment, and if we want to send out a blog or a message or a video, we can do that very quickly and test it within the space of a few hours and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, guess what? You can change it, and you can change it very quickly. And the cost of changing it is almost next to nothing. Well, once you've printed something in a magazine and it's out, it's done. Yeah. And you've spent all that money and it's not working. Now what do you do? So it's interesting to see this dynamic. But it's also interesting and sad in a certain way to see a lot of people are losing it. They don't get it. They think, oh no, this is not going to work, especially in this industry that we're in. A lot of criticism. We got a lot of criticism in the beginning of using social media, But guess what? It works because everybody's on there these days. With these phones, everybody's on there.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, even one of my aunts, she got a smartphone a couple of months ago, and now she's in the world of Facebook, which she's never been before. And she's like, wow, this is really cool. It's incredible. I can see my grandkids and what they're up to and everything so quickly, so fast. While this wasn't possible like 10, 15 years ago. So it's amazing. Now, in closing, Jim, what piece of advice would you give an entrepreneur today that's in business that could help them for their future and set them up?
There's a phrase I always use on stage, and it catches people's attention. And that's actually the title of the next book I'm working on, which is Think Big, Start Small, Scale Fast. We've got to think really big in terms of the scope of the opportunity that is out in front of us today. Regardless of the industry we're in, regardless of our focus, regardless of what we're doing. I mean, we live in truly transformative times. If we take the world of healthcare, essentially it's going upside down. I mean, the impact of genomic medicine, where I can look at a couple of hundred strands of your DNA and determine with a high degree of accuracy what health conditions you're susceptible to. That's a transformative trend, because it transitions us from a system in which we fix you after you're sick, to a system we know what you're going to become sick with, and realign the delivery of healthcare based upon that knowledge. I mean, that's a massive trend. So we've got to think really big in terms of where we're going. Start small. Beef up your experience. I talk a lot about experiential capital. So investment capital, financial capital is important. But what about your depth of experiential capital? And that's the accumulated experience that you have, the accumulated knowledge you have with all these new things which are occurring around you. You focus on, starting small with a lot of small scale projects to beef up your capabilities, and then learn how to scale. How do we roll it out faster? How do we, avoid that 5-year business plan and just do things now? And if it doesn't work, try it again. So that captures people's attention. Think big, start small, scale fast. I mean, it's a good metaphor for how to deal with this high velocity economy.
That's great. That's absolutely fantastic. Because if we think of the creation of Facebook, here's a young man of 22, 23. He creates a business with almost no money, and then he becomes a billionaire before he's the age of 30. That was impossible 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, we're all not going to be, not all of us are going to be Mark Zuckerbergs, but, I think we do appreciate we live in transformative times, and any idea, can be a transformative idea. That's the way you need to think. I mean, when I go out on stage, I have a running joke, I'm a futurist. I can't walk out here and say, guess what, your future sucks, because I won't get a lot of repeat bookings.
Yeah.
I have to be an optimist. But, I really think we do need to be optimistic about the future, because I think we live in a period of time in which there's so many transformative opportunities in front of us. And, it's our responsibility to go out and seize them.
Great. Jim, thank you very much. Where can people find you on the internet, and where can they buy your books?
www.jimcarroll.com, 2 R's, 2 L's, and Twitter @JimCarroll.
Okay, we'll post that on here on the video, and thank you so much for your time, and I wish you luck with your future.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you.
Okay, take care then. Bye then.